But like this, finally, it don't happen. Last. As I declare you so, Chicago State University now, they don't finally disown the certificate where Emiloko present give Inec. Yes, now. They don't finally come out, don't talk and say, man, the certificate where Emiloko present give Inec take contest for this election, so say na forged certificate. So nobody they present that certificate. And una know that one mean. Make I read the full gist given now. And all these Agbadorians, now article carry now go court. Why be say now obedience and call the face? When I first articulated people now, I'm not the fear obedience. Anyway, man give now the full gist. Listen and be blessed. He said President Bola Tinubu presented a forged degree certificate to Inec when he filed his paperwork to lead Nigeria in June 2022. People Gazette can report based on the testimony of the institution he arrogated, introducing a new but potentially fatal front in the ongoing battle to ask the Nigeria leader for his documented misdeeds from years gone by. The official reputation of Mr. Tinubu's certificate, the only academic qualification he presented to the electoral office, came at a deposition of school officials on Tuesday in Chicago. An expanded transcript of the session is still being processed, but the Gazette has learned about what has perhaps been the most crucial expectation of Nigerians: how the school would characterize Mr. Tinubu's certificate under oath and the penalty of perjury. Caleb Westberg, the registrar of Chicago State University, said Mr. Tinubu's certificate, dated June 22, 1979, and tendered to Inec on June 17, 2022, was not issued by the school, and its administrators could therefore not be able to authenticate its source, the Gazette learned. Mr. Westberg, CSU's registrar since November 2020, also said during the deposition that lasted about 5.5 hours that Mr. Tinubu did not apply for a replacement certificate, nor was he ever issued one. The categorical statement capped a successful outcome for the months-long legal strategy of Atiku Abubakar. Mr. Tinubu's main opponent, who approached the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois in Chicago to ascertain the authenticity or otherwise of the document. Federal District Judge Nancy Maldonado granted a final order for CSU administrators to turn over all documents relating to Mr. Tinubu to the school and also sit down for deposition by an adversary team of lawyers deployed by Mr. Abubakar. Mr. Tinubu, sensing the intractable consequences of the proceedings, vigorously fought to thwart its successful outcome, with his lawyers warning the judge in a September 21 hearing that releasing the documents with deposition would inevitably inflict severe, irreparable harm against the Nigerian president. Voila. The school had long insisted that Mr. Tinubu was its student, entering in 1977 and graduating in 1979, but its inability to authenticate the certificate the Nigerian president submitted would ripple through Nigeria's over 200 million population for the foreseeable future. Previously, in 1999, Mr. Tinubu had lied under oath when he ran for governor of Lagos, claiming he obtained a degree from the prestigious University of Chicago. However, he managed to escape being held accountable for the breach because he had been elected before it was discovered, and he did not submit a certificate backing his claim, only an affidavit that was later found to be fiction. And the Nigerian Supreme Court said he could not be charged with crimes as a serving governor. He subsequently stopped claiming attendance at the University of Chicago, holding on instead to a claim that he attended Chicago State University, one of Illinois State University campuses, traditionally popular among black people. A spokesman for the president was not immediately available for reaction to the development on Tuesday night, but the president's allies have suggested publicly that the evidence was not inconsequential and propagated the Supreme Court's readiness to throw it out. Okay. The president's allies are also banking on the model circumstances of the president's certificate spill, believing his Nigerian lawyers will be able to convince the Supreme Court to focus more on the school's position that Mr. Tinubu was a student rather than how he came about parading a forged certificate. On Monday evening, shortly after the school dumped records into the electronic filing portal used by lawyers to all parties, Mr. Tinubu's team circulated a misrepresented account of the documents, successfully misleading some media outlets to run a claim that the school had authenticated Mr. Tinubu's certificate. They also said a replacement was issued to Mr. Tinubu on June 27, 1997, in what seemed to be a reference to the certificate the school had submitted following a 2022 subpoena obtained from a state court by Nigerian lawyer Mike Enahoro Eba. Mr. Enahoro Eba received the certificate dated June 27, 1979, alongside all academic records of Mr. Tinubu from CSU in August 2022. But the certificate was signed by Elnora Daniel and Niva Lubin, who were not at the school in 1979 and carried June 27, 1979 as its issuance date. After comparing the certificate it was given by CSU to the certificate Mr. Tinubu submitted to Inec, dated June 22, 1979, Mr. Enahoro Eba promptly returned to Nigeria with the records and filed a criminal complaint against Mr. Tinubu for forgery. But the case was stalled in an Abuja court for months before the election and has not been heard even months after the election. Mr. Atiku used the conflicting records to approach the federal court in Chicago for a subpoena as part of his ongoing case against Mr. Tinubu in Nigeria, culminating in Tuesday's deposition that established Mr. Tinubu forged his certificate in violation of the Constitution. Okay, one of the year. Mr. Tinubu was narrowly declared the winner of the February 25 presidential election, and he was only sworn in on May 29th. But today's development could all but mark a punitive end to his presidency due to the constitutional proscription against the submission of a fake certificate to the electoral office. Section 137, subsection 1I of the Nigerian Constitution, amended in 2010, specifically stated that no one would be legitimately elected president of Nigeria if the person has presented a forged certificate to Inec. The records obtained from the school, the deposition and other materials collected through the US legal system are now being prepared for onward submission to the Nigeria Supreme Court, where a final decision on the presidential election challenge will be made on or before December 6, 2023. While the evidence may appear overwhelming to a plurality of Nigeria, for the plurality of Nigerians, its acceptance would still need to cross a formidable hurdle at the Supreme Court. This is because the court has conventionally rejected the introduction of new materials at the top court level that was not previously argued during the initial trial. Mr. Abubakar himself admitted before the two US judges who heard his discovery application that it would be a daunting challenge to convincing the Supreme Court to accept the files, yet not entirely improbable. Mr. Abubakar lost at the appeal court, the initial court of presidential election disputes, when a panel of 5 judges on September 6 said his position was too weak to overturn Mr. Tinubu's election. But Nigeria, now the more you look, the less you see. Normally, this thing not be say I get hope say Supreme Court go do anything meaningful with this discovery, but it just good maybe say make we know the kind person wey dey office as una president. Make everybody know, make the whole world know. Say na forged certificate, forged results. Now about present give Inec as against the law, because the law talks say anybody wey present fake forged documents no go fit become president. But you know say Nigeria, especially one with this one, nothing is impossible. They will see find one way Ben and come outside. But all the people they support Miloko at this point, I don't know for the same conscience what they use for outside. I'm gonna take my tell all of us who give this conscience what they use. Because how you go see all this kind of thing about person they support, but just because of your tribe or religion, political affiliation, or outright senselessness, you just decide to overlook the truth where they stare you for face to face. Ha! Now wow. Anyway, Just thank God for everything.